Sometimes you eat not because you're hungry, but because something inside you feels heavy, tight, unresolved, and maybe you've wondered why food seems to be the only place where your mind finally finds silence. Why a few minutes of eating can feel like peace, even when guilt comes right after. Here is the hard truth almost no one says. Your problem was never food, it was relief. And while you try to control the plate, something much deeper keeps asking for help. What you're about to hear is not a surface explanation. It's not judgment. It's not empty motivation. It's the truth behind emotional eating. The truth that, once understood, changes the body without war and reshapes the mind without violence. Because no one eats this way by accident. And if you're still struggling, it's not because you failed. It's because no one ever showed you where the problem really begins. The traditional method fails because it looks in the wrong place. It tries to fix behavior before understanding the system. Diets fail because they start from a false assumption that you're broken, that you lack discipline. But if willpower worked, this would have been solved years ago. The real danger isn't emotional eating. The real danger is spending your entire life fighting your own body without realizing it's been trying to protect you. Every failed attempt reinforces a silent identity. I'm like this. I always go back. There's something wrong with me. And the stronger that identity becomes, the more the brain repeats the pattern, not out of sabotage, out of coherence. Today, you're going to see something different. Not a trick, not a food plan, but the invisible mechanism connecting emotion, identity, and behavior. And why, once you understand it, emotional eating begins to lose its grip without force. Let's go beneath the surface. The human body was not designed to choose the best behavior. It was designed to survive. When you feel anxiety, loneliness, stress, or emotional pressure, the nervous system goes on alert. The body reads this as a threat. Not a physical threat, an emotional one. And the brain does what it has always done through evolution. It looks for fast relief. Food is not just food, it's chemistry. Every bite releases dopamine. Sugar creates a temporary sense of safety. Familiar textures signal, you're okay now. That's why emotional eating bypasses rational thought. It happens before choice. It's automatic, like blinking, like breathing. And every time this loop repeats, the neural pathway strengthens. Not because you choose it, but because the brain is efficient. Trying to stop this with rules alone is like asking your heart to stop beating because it's inconvenient. Now comes psychology. The brain doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you believe you are. Your self-image is an invisible script. If you see yourself as the one who loses control, your brain aligns behavior to that identity, not to sabotage you, but to stay internally consistent. The mind hates incoherence. It prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom. And here is the most ignored truth of all. Emotional eating doesn't start with food. It starts with how you learn to process emotions. When emotions weren't welcomed, when comfort wasn't available, when you had to be strong too early, your body found another outlet. Food became refuge, not for pleasure, for emotional survival. Biologically, this makes sense. Psychologically, it's predictable. Behaviorally, it's logical. The mistake was calling it weakness. Now, something even deeper happens. Food begins to mirror your inner world. If you feel lonely, it becomes company. If you feel overwhelmed, it becomes a pause. If you feel undeserving of care, it becomes the only kindness you allow yourself. This isn't hunger, it's emotional language. And the more disconnected you are from your emotional needs, the louder the body has to speak. That's why some cravings feel sudden, urgent, intense. It's not your stomach calling. It's something old asking to be seen. The problem was never the feeling. The problem was trying to silence it instead of listening. And while you fight the symptom, the cause stays alive. Now let's talk about identity. Real transformation doesn't begin when you change what you eat. It begins when you change who you believe you are. Identity always comes first. Always. When you see yourself as emotionally fragile, the brain seeks protection. When you see yourself as someone always struggling, the body prepares for battle. But when identity shifts, behavior follows. Not because you forced it, but because acting the old way no longer makes sense. When you start seeing yourself as someone who can feel without escaping, someone who can pause without numbing, someone who can care without compensating, emotional eating loses its purpose. There's nothing left to protect, nothing left to anesthetize. This doesn't happen through motivation. It happens through alignment. Now, notice something important. Before every episode of emotional eating, there is an emotional doorway, always. Accumulated stress, unspoken anxiety, quiet loneliness, existential boredom. The body never creates behavior out of nowhere. It reacts to what's present. Stress pushes the nervous system into survival mode. Anxiety creates internal urgency. Loneliness triggers the need for connection. Boredom reveals a lack of meaning. Food steps in as a fast solution to a deep problem. Not wrong. It's human. The mistake was trying to eliminate the behavior without hearing the message. Now let's go even deeper. These patterns didn't start in adulthood. They were learned. Maybe in childhood, when emotions felt too big. Maybe in environments where comfort didn't come from people. Maybe in moments where you learn to swallow feelings. Literally, the body doesn't forget what once worked. And it doesn't distinguish past from present. It reacts through memory. Every time you blame yourself, you reinforce the old identity. Every time you use force, you create resistance. But when you understand the pattern, something shifts. You stop attacking yourself and you start observing. And conscious observation rewires the brain, not instantly, but deeply. There is a quiet moment before the urge, a split second when something tightens inside. When the mind looks for an exit, that's where everything changes, not with restriction, with presence. When you begin noticing the emotion before the food, the brain learns a new pathway. This isn't about never emotionally eating again. It's about no longer needing to. And when identity updates, behavior follows. Without struggle, without endless restarts, without internal war. None of this begins on the plate. It begins in your inner narrative. How you see yourself, how you treat yourself when you slipped, how you interpret your impulses. You don't need perfection. You need enough awareness to teach your brain something new. And the brain learns through emotional repetition, not punishment. In the end, what changes everything isn't control, it's understanding. You don't lose weight by becoming someone new. You lose weight when you stop being the version of you that needed food to survive emotionally. The body follows the mind. It always has. And when the mind finds safety, behavior finds balance. This isn't the end of the conversation. It's the root. Because when you understand the why, the how begins to reorganize itself. And everything that comes next is a consequence.